sports coaches, sports teachers, if you have ever wondered where to stand when you should be either demonstrating to people or observing them performing a technique, this demonstrating observing continuum will explain everything all in one video to you. This here represents you, the coach or the demonstrator, depending on the role that you're going to be taking. For example, the people here could be the people that you're either demonstrating to or that you are observing. Along this axis, we have distance, the distance from you to them. Along this axis, we have speed, the speed at which you should be observing the technique. Please note that this says close, this says far. This says 0.75, so this would represent slow motion, so slower than 0.75 of normal speed. This would be normal speed, normal playback, and this is super speed or greater than 1.5 times playback speed. And you might wonder, when would we use this? Well, we will cover this. Please also note the optimum angle of demonstrating or observing is 60 degrees. This is represented here. So everything should always be within that 60-degree optimal angle. If you were demonstrating, for example, to somebody outside like this, they would not see a very good demonstration. Let me give you an example. Here's a straightforward example. I'm teaching a head hook, a punch like this. Now, if you're directly in front of me, you are at my zero angle. I'm right in front of you, so you can see a good demonstration there. You can see that my shoulders, my elbow have lined up. Everything is good there. Now, however, let's say, for example, if I stood outside of that optimum angle and I went over here, as you see the punch there, you're going to see it at an odd angle. And what you might replicate if I was demonstrating to you would you might end up replicating this, going too far, because this is what you see when I am standing over there. Now, similarly, if I am watching you and I'm observing you, but I observe from the wrong angle, I might not see a very good replication of the technique because of where I'm standing. That's not going to be ideal. Hence the reason we need to be in that optimum demonstrating angle, but we can go steps further than that. Now let's say that I want to look at the action of a joint in a particular move. Let's say I wanted to observe you doing a punch and I wanted to make sure that your thumb was not inside of your hand, but is in fact outside of your hand where it would be much safer. I cannot do that from a far distance. I must do this from a close distance because I'm looking at a joint. If I'm looking at a joint or a limb, I need to be close, like this. Now, let's say, for example, I want to look at the whole technique of the entire body. An appropriate distance would depend on the length of the technique that you're going to be observing. Now, I've calculated this mathematically. I am a bit of a science nerd, as some of you will know. If we put that there at a 90-degree angle, let's say, for example, this is a 10-meter thing that is going to be occurring. Let's say, for example, a short run and a jump of 10 meters. You would need to stand 8.66 meters back. So the magic formula, if you like, is that this here on distance is 0.86 times this. Let's say, for example, you're watching something like a 2-meter tall person. They'd be very tall, not like me. They were doing a 2-meter tall thing and they were doing, I don't know, star jumps. You would need to stand 0.86 times 2 meters, the height of the entire technique, which would be around about 1.72 meters back approximately. So you'd need to stand at an appropriate distance in order to see the entire thing. Now, what would happen is if we were going to look at a race from a long distance back and you want to see the pattern of the race develop, you'd need to go a long way back. You'd need to go far back. Now, this is not infinite because obviously it is limited by your eyesight, but it would be far if you are looking at the rhythm or pattern of a race. And for this here at 1.0 times speed, 0.86 times distance is the whole technique. Let's also now look at speed. Let's say you want to look at a joint or a limb. You are going to need to slow that down. If we did this at super speed and you were looking at this and you looked at it and it was going too fast, too quick, can't do that. So this is where we would slow something down to look at a joint or a limb. And remember that this is a continuum as well. This is not a block. You'll see in my other diagrams that I've done, I've drawn this as a table, but really this is an improved version of my earlier ones, and this is now a continuum. If you're looking at the whole technique, ideally you'd be looking at this at 1.0 times speed. That's going to work particularly well. However, if you want to look at the rhythm or pattern of a race, let's say a 200-meter race, what you're going to do is you're going to be standing a long way back, and then you can see it unfold as you go. I've done analyses of these distance and speeds of both close up, far away, super speed, and slow motion. So have a look for my other videos on that. But if you're looking for a continuum that encompasses all of these things with the correct coaching angle, that's it. Now, let's take a worked example. I coach pole vault. So let's say that the technique, the run up length is going to be 30 meters like this. I want to ensure that the entire technique is within that 30-meter distance. I'm going to have to go 0.86 times 30 meters. It's going to be about 25, 26 meters that I'm going to stand back. So I would need to have a distance here of around about 26 meters in order to see the whole thing. Now, if I wanted to watch the rhythm of the run up, I would be observing that in super speed because I've already set my distance. If I wanted to look at something like the action of a joint or a limb during that movement, I would use slow motion. If I wanted to see the general whole technique and just to get a good feeling for it, 1.0 times speed. That's how the thing works. Now, I hope that helps you if you're a sports coach, a PE teacher, or an exercise teacher, whether you're demonstrating or observing somebody's technique. That's the magic formula and the continuum. Oh yeah, and copyright Andy. So that's mine.